Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you are new, welcome to my channel. I am Jamie Beth. Today is another story time in makeup, and we are going to be talking about something that I absolutely love, haunted places. So I have a short little list here. I'm sure there's far more haunted places out there, but I have a short list of some of the most haunted places in America. Some of these you might have heard me talk about already. Others, I am going to do a more in-depth story on them, or another like story time and makeup about them, and just give you all the details about them. A lot of these are on a bucket list of mine to visit. If there are any places that I don't mention that you think are extremely haunted and want to see me do an in-depth story time and makeup about it, I will be glad to do that. Just let me know in the comments below what you guys are interested in, or what you want to hear about, because you know, I'm always looking for stories to tell. I do love doing these every other Friday, so let me know what you want to hear and I will do it. We're going to move right into our most haunted places in America, and the first one we're going to talk about is Alcatraz. Now, I know a lot of people know what Alcatraz is. It's a very famous jail, and it is located in San Francisco, California. It is on an island. The jail itself is located on an island and is surrounded by water. And it was known to house the nation's most horrible people. I'm gonna read you guys the little blurbs that I have for each of these. So I didn't memorize all of this. I just wrote down little notes for each thing, and I'm just gonna read that to you. Alcatraz has quite a bit of history. So before it was even a, for the land housed the famous Fort Alcatraz, it was home to Native Americans. It was a military barrack. It is most often known as one of the toughest federal penitentiaries in the nation. It is no wonder that this place is said to be one of the most haunted places in the nation, often described as a portal to another dimension. This is why Alcatraz is on my list of places to visit, because like that kind of thing is just so interesting. Alcatraz is filled with energies of those who came to the rock and seemingly never left. Today, these spirits continue to lurk in the shadows of the often fog-enshrouded island and have been heard, seen, and felt by both the staff and many visitors of Alcatraz. The sounds of men's voices, screams, whistles, clanging metal doors, and terrifying screams are said to be heard within these historic walls, especially near the dungeon. Any of you guys have ever done a tour in Alcatraz? If you guys ever visited California or live in California and you've been to Alcatraz, please let me know in the comments below, because I just think that's so cool. And you know, give me like your favorite part of the tour if you were someone that toured the Alcatraz. The next story that we're going to talk about is another jail, and it is the Eastern State Penitentiary. And I know everyone has to know about this too. Like, I just feel like most people probably know about the stories that I'm going to talk about, because there's been like shows and whatnot done on them. So I mean, I don't know, I think everyone should know this, but if you don't, is a penitentiary in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. This former prison operated from 1829 to 1971, and its revolutionary system of incarceration was the first to establish the policy of separate confinement, emphasizing principles of reform rather than punishment. However, confinements were severe, locking inmates in their cells 23 hours a day and prohibiting any communication among inmates. The punishments were harsh, including subjecting them to water baths, where inmates who broke the rules would be dunked in a bath of ice water and then hung from a wall for the night. They were also punished in what was called the mad chair, so named because it was not uncommon for an inmate to go mad before his punishment ended. During this punishment, inmates would be strapped to a chair, so we're talking about the mad chair. They would be strapped to this chair, strapped so tightly that it was impossible for them to move. And would be sitting for days like this without food until the circulation in their body almost stopped. And this was just done to them for not following the rules. So if you were someone that consistently violated the no communication rule, you would clamp your tongue in an iron clamp and then connect it to your wrist and put your arms up. You would be left this way for days. This was called the iron gag. Notorious criminals such as bank robber Willie Sutton and Al Capone were held within the walls of the Eastern State Penitentiary. Today, it is currently a U.S. National Historic Landmark, which is open to the public as a museum for regular tours as well as haunted tours. Visitors and staff report hearing unexplained eerie sounds, as well as whispering, laughing, weeping, and seeing tormented faces in the cells. Okay, the next story is going to be about the haunted St. Augustine, Florida. Now, I have heard many things about St. Augustine. I have lots of friends and family that have visited and continue to visit it, yearly on an annual basis. And I've always thought it was a fascinating place. From what I've read, I've never been there, I've only read about it. So I wanted to add this to the list of places I talked about today because it is a very fascinating place. St. Augustine is located in northeast Florida. It is the oldest continuously occupied European established settlement and port in the continental United States. It is appropriately called the nation's oldest city. And to many of the locals, it is also known as the ancient city. After more than 450 years, it is also said to be the most haunted city in America, or one of the most haunted cities in America. Among its iconic buildings, military forts, and facilities and historic streets, a number of ghostly spirits are said to linger due to war, sickness, and death. At Castillo de San Marcos, I hopefully said that somewhat correctly, it is the oldest existing permanent seacoast fortification in the continental United States. A female apparition roams the grounds, as well as Spanish soldiers on patrol, and a ghost of a Seminole Indian who was imprisoned there, who seemingly leaps to freedom from the high fortress walls. There's also a cemetery there that is said to be so haunted that it is referred to as Spirit Central. I need to go to that cemetery. At the lighthouse, there are numerous reports of ghosts who continue to reside on the grounds, some of whom believed to be previous lightkeepers, which makes sense if they enjoyed their job, I guess. More haunting tales can be found at the Spanish Military Hospital, the Old Jail, and the St. Francis Inn. The next story we're going to talk about, or the next haunted place I'm going to mention, is the Lemp Mansion, which is located in St. Louis, Missouri. This mansion is said to be one of the 10 most haunted places in America. The Lemp Mansion in St. Louis, Missouri continues to play host to the tragic Lemp family. Over the years, the mansion was transformed from a stately home of millionaires to an office space to a decaying, rundown boarding house, and finally restored again to its current state as a fine dinner theater, restaurant, and bed and breakfast. With the scene of triumph and tragedy, with a background of intrigue, scandal, and suicide, visitors have reported a wide range of phenomenon within the mansion walls. Tales of phantom guests sitting in chairs and a misty white apparition floating throughout the mansion are often told. Candles are said to mysteriously light on their own, and the smell of cigar smoke will fill the area of non-smoking rooms and places throughout the mansion. Guests have claimed to have felt someone stroking their hair at night and receiving phantom phone calls. Personal items have been known to disappear or be moved. Now, I don't know about you guys, but reading that makes me want to stay the night there. I know I sound crazy, but that is like so intriguing. I would love to stay the night there and just kind of witness some of the weird, unexplainable things. You know what? I just saw something kind of cool. If you guys have any personal experiences with paranormal anything, let me know in the comments below. Put your IG address in there or your email. I can send you a quick little note, and you can give me your story, and then I could maybe do like a story time and makeup with your scary stories, telling your scary stories. So that kind of sounds fun. If you guys are into that, let me know. Again, if you have an Instagram account, put your IG down and I will private message you and get your story, and I will feature it on one of my story time and makeups. I think that might be fun. I don't know. Let me know if you're into that. If you are, let me know. If you're not, don't post anything. So our next story is about the Queen Mary, and I know a lot of people are very familiar with this one. Everyone kind of knows what the Queen Mary is. It's a giant ship in Long Beach, California. So resting in Long Beach Harbor is the HMS Queen Mary. It is a colossal ship that was bigger, faster, and more powerful than the Titanic. The 1,000-foot ship began her life with the first keel plate that was laid in 1930 at the John Brown Shipyard in Clyde, Scotland. The Depression held up her construction between 1931 and 1934, but was finally completed, making her maiden voyage May 27, 1936. So the Queen Mary made 1,001 successful Atlantic crossings. She was permanently docked and soon became the luxury hotel that she is today. Today, the Museum Hotel Ocean Liner is said to be called home to a number of ghosts, including ghostly children playing by the pool in a spirit of a 17-year-old sailor killed while escaping a fire. More odd occurrences have been made in a number of first-class staterooms. Here, reports have been made of a tall, dark-haired man appearing in a 1930s style suit, as well as water running and lights turning on in the middle of the night, and phones ringing in the early morning hours with no one on the other end. So a third-class child's playroom, you can hear a baby's cry, which is thought to be an infant boy who died shortly after his birth. Other phenomena occur throughout the ship. Some of them are sounds of knocks, doors slamming, high-pitched squeals, drastic temperature changes, and aromas of smells long past. So it's kind of fascinating, don't you think? On to the next haunted place. Now, this is a story that I am going to be featuring as a story time and makeup, a little bit more detailed story. But this is the Moore home, which is also down the Axe Murder House in Valencia, Iowa. On the morning of June 10th, 1912, the small Midwestern community of Valencia awoke to find 8 of their own had been brutally murdered by an axe during the middle of the night. It's actually a really sad story, but interesting as well, because if I remember correctly, they haven't found out. They don't know who did this. It's still a mystery. This fateful evening changed the town from a peaceful community where people left their doors unlocked and trusted their neighbors into a community of suspicion where the townsfolk reinforced their locks and openly carried weapons. Accusations, rumors, and suspicion ran rampant among friends and families. Newspaper reporters, private detectives, law enforcement agencies from neighboring counties all verged upon the town collecting hundreds of interviews and facts. Though there were several suspects, the murders were never solved. Open for tours, so you can go tour this home. The old house is said to be the site of numerous paranormal activities. A number of reports have been given that visitors hear sounds of children's voices and laughter when there is no one present. Objects seemingly move of their own accord. Mysterious banging sounds are heard throughout the home. Paranormal investigators are known to have come away with mysterious audio, video, or photographic evidence. Moving on to the next story. This is the Myrtle Plantation in St. Francisville, Louisiana. Built in 1796 by General David Bradford and first called Laurel Grove, so it was not called Myrtle's Plantation at first, it was called Laurel Grove. The Antebellum Plantation near Baton Rouge operates as a bed and breakfast today and offers historical and mystery tours. Said to be one of the most haunted homes in America, a number of theories abound as to why it is haunted. But when one learns the history of the old building, it becomes more clear. First, it was allegedly built on a site of an ancient Indian burial ground, and after the house was done, 10 murders were committed within the walls. There are a number of strange events that occur within the mansion, including handprints on the mirrors, sounds of footsteps on the stairs when no one is there, strange smells, objects that move and disappear. There are allegedly a number of spirits that remain in the building, including a French woman who wanders from room to room, a ghost who sits at the grand piano. A ghost that sits at the grand piano playing the same chord over and over again, and a young girl who only appears just before thunderstorms. Now, I appreciate a ghost that can tell the weather. The most famous apparition in this home is of a woman named Chloe. Chloe was a slave that became her master's mistress, and when he grew tired of her, she began eavesdropping on the family. Well, she was eventually caught eavesdropping, and as punishment, she had her ear cut off and she was sent to the fields. As revenge, she poisoned the family birthday cake, which killed the family's 2 children and the mother. Other slaves who were very fearful of the plantation owner's wrath dragged Chloe out of the house and hung her. The spirit of Chloe, as well as the spirit of the 2 young children and the mother, are said to roam the home still. So the next place I'm going to tell you guys about is one I've actually been to, so I have marked this off my bucket list. It is the Stanley Hotel, and it is located in East Park, Colorado. It is an old hotel that was built in the early 1900s. One thing I do want to mention, that if you do go visit this hotel and you are not an actual guest, you will get asked to leave. If you are there just to take photos and stuff, they have a problem with like touristy people just walking in and taking photos and whatnot because it is a famous hotel. If you are not somebody who's staying there, they'll ask you to leave. I've seen it happen. So just an FYI. At least if you walk in there, be discreet about it. Act like you actually have a room there. Don't just go in snapping your camera and looking like a tourist. F.O. Stanley created the Stanley steam engine, a steam-powered horseless carriage. The majestic Georgian-style hotel opened in 1909, catering to the rich and famous. In addition to its regular guests, the hotel is also said to play host to a number of otherworldly visitors. The most notable is F.O. Stanley himself, who is often seen in the lobby and in the billiard room, which was his favorite room when he was alive. Not to be left out, his wife, Flora, also haunts the hotel, continuing to entertain guests with her piano playing in the ballroom. So if you hear a piano playing and you happen to take a peek into the piano room, you could possibly see the piano playing by itself, like the keys are moving, but nobody is doing anything. There are tales of other ghosts as well throughout the hotel, including a small child who reportedly Stephen King saw when he stayed at the hotel, and then was inspired to write The Shining, which if you haven't seen The Shining or read it or anything, that is another great movie to see. But I mean, it's a sight to see. The Stanley Hotel is absolutely gorgeous. I do highly recommend you guys go see it. The last story I'm going to tell you guys about is the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia. And I'm thinking of doing a more in-depth story time about this one as well. Once known as the Weston State Hospital, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia, opened its doors to patients in 1864. Once it was a house of horrors with several overcrowding, inhumane conditions, rampant violence. Today, it comes to no surprise and is said to be extremely haunted. Who knew? Unlike those places constructed more for the purposes of security and safety, this establishment was to foster the best known concepts of curing the patient. So this is one of those places where they did a lot of crazy things to the patients. In early days, asylums were seen as repositories for more than just the insane. In some cases, people were committed for ridiculous reasons, such as laziness, religious enthusiasm, menopause, superstition, domestic trouble, masturbation, and tuberculosis. Asylums were often the dumping ground for society's unwanted. Interestingly enough, the asylum offered money to anyone who dropped off a patient, many whom showed no signs of mental illness when they were first committed. In 1938, the asylum was called home to 1,600 patients, a little over 1,600 patients. That year, a survey reported that the hospital housed epileptics, alcoholics, drug addicts, and non-educatable mental deficiencies among its population. At its peak, in the 1950s, the hospital's population reached 2,400 patients, more than 10 times the number it had been built to accommodate. The hospital was forcibly closed in 1994 due to changes in treatments of patients. Afterward, the building stood vacant for many, many years. Tales of haunting and unearthly spirits lurking around the building and its grounds started long before the building ceased to be a hospital. After a few decades, the reports of hauntings and sounds of restless souls became a commonplace. Some workers were said to have stayed only a few days, quitting after hearing inexplainable noises, such as squeaky wheels of gurneys rolling along a tiled hallway. Sightings include staff and visitors seeing ghostly figures walking throughout the hallways at night and glimpsing shadowy figures at all hours. One doctor even reported that a spirit followed her home and continues to trouble her to this day. Others have reported seeing a ball of light moving in the hallway and spying apparitions dressed in white. So this is a place that I do want to do a story time on. It's just crazy. It's a crazy, crazy place. There's just so many odd things that happen. I don't think you can visit it. I gotta do some more research. I don't know. I don't think you can visit it. I do think it's abandoned or it's knocked down already. I'm not sure. But I will look into this more and I will do a story on this. So stay tuned to that because I think it's going to be a really interesting story. So that is my list of the most haunted places in America. Like I said, I know there's probably more that I haven't mentioned. If you guys have a personal story that you want to share with me, please leave your ID in the description below and I will contact you and I will collect some personal stories and then do a story time like that. If you've visited any of these places or any really haunted place at all, let me know. Let me know what you liked about it, what you thought was scary about it. If there's anything that happened, I would love to know. Please tell me. I think that stuff is so cool. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, give it a thumbs up and remember to hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already, as well as the notification bell next to it to be notified of all of my upcoming videos. Thank you so much and I'll see you again soon. Bye.